everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am obsessed with the Minnie Mouse mug today. I have just started becoming a tea drinker in the last year. I've been trying new types of tea, broadening my horizon. I'm really liking the black tea vanilla. It's probably a bad evening tea. I just was really feeling something sweeter tonight, so we're gonna sip on this while we talk about the autumn books that I recommend. If you've seen me recommend these before, no you haven't. Let's just pretend that these are new. Let's pretend that I don't constantly talk about the same 5 to 6 books all the time. I do have some new ones on the list this year because last fall was fairly good. I did go into a little bit of a slump for a while because I live in an area that was affected by Hurricane Helene, and I feel like that time period, my brain is blacked out for that. I was only reading one single book, and I'll talk about it whenever we get to it, but I had no emotional capacity to do anything else or read a lot. This is going to be a very redemptive fall, hopefully. At the end of this video, I'm also going to talk about the books that I plan on reading this fall. So this is going to be a whole fall TBR and recommendation video all in one. I usually like to split these up into 2 videos, but honestly, I'm just feeling like putting them all together for this one, especially since I'm doing this kind of late. I like to have these out by honestly late July, early August, but I feel like September is also a great time because you have a whole 3 months still to read fall books, in my opinion, and fall and winter kind of go hand in hand sometimes. I have a lot of different genres to go through. I have a little bit of everything. I will leave the timestamps in here if you guys want to skip to a specific genre that you like. I have YA fantasy. I'm looking down because I have them all in little stacks. Literary fiction, contemporary romance, thriller, adult fantasy, dark academia, and nostalgic reread. So we have a lot to go through. I'm really excited for today's video. As always, if you have any recommendations for me, if you have any books that fall into the fall category for you that you don't see me raving about, drop it down below. I'm still curating my fall TBR, so I'm very open to recommendations still. I'm still kind of tweaking it and figuring out what I think is going to work the best. So leave them down below. Let's get into this because this is going to be a long one. Grab your tea too, girlies. Grab your tea, take a seat. Ooh, what should we start with? Okay, this stack is my YA or general fantasy section. I love fantasy in the fall, and I absolutely love books that can kind of transition you into the fall season. For me, I'm a very big romance in the summer, fantasy in the fall and winter type of girl. Spring is kind of a mix, but fall is so fantasy to me, and I feel like sometimes it can be so much of a jump scare to go from summer romance to autumn fantasy. Sometimes it's a really big leap. This summer was weird because I was reading Zodiac Academy throughout the summer, so it was kind of like a mix anyways. I really love a good transition book into the fall reading season. So what I read last year as my transition book was Legends and Lattes. This book is literally the cutest cozy fantasy of all time. I will not take any Legends and Lattes slander. I love this book with my whole heart. The way that I describe this book, it's kind of like Animal Crossing, but with mythical creatures starting a coffee shop. That is literally what this book is. The second I started reading this, I was like, why am I getting Animal Crossing vibes? This follows Viv, who has fought in wars. She's this green lady right here. She's very tough. She's very strong. She's fought in a lot of battles. But the very beginning of the book, she's like, I'm done with this. I literally just want to move to a small village and start a coffee shop. So basically the whole book, she is kind of meeting new people. They're helping her build this coffee shop. Nobody knows what coffee is, so she's kind of introducing them to what coffee is. She has some enemies, she has some friends. It's just such a cozy story, and towards the end of it, you just have the warmest feeling in your heart for every character. If you can't tell by the way I'm smiling, I love this book so much. It means the world to me, and I always recommend this as a very easy transition if fall is fantasy for you. It's a very good transition into fall fantasy because it's very light. It's very fantasy light. Kind of also in that category because I also use this as a transition book the fall before that, and it is Trust of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is also, I would say, a cozy fantasy. It's a standalone. I haven't read any other Brandon Sanderson. This was my intro to Brandon Sanderson. I'm planning to read a lot more of his books this winter. I at first was really thrown off by his writing style. I was trying to describe it to my friend the other day, and it's really hard to describe because I've never read anything like it before. His narrator is a person in the books, but it's a very irrelevant character, or maybe it's a relevant character. I don't know. Somebody tell me if they're familiar with Cosmere. This follows Tress. She has a crush on a boy who's on her island. I think he either gets kidnapped or told to go to this sorceress, sets out to go save him. She is just a simple girl who likes to collect teacups. There's nothing really that extraordinary about her, but she's brave enough to go after this boy that she has come to love. From what I heard, this is a Princess Bride inspired inspired story. I've never watched Princess Bride. I know that's crazy. I remember my parents having it and they had it in their closet, I think. I just remember seeing it, but I was never allowed to watch it as a kid. And then now I've just like never seen it. I thought it was absolutely adorable. I think I gave this a 4.5. Loved the story. I loved the themes of like just being brave is good enough, can be all these other amazing, great traits, but to be kind and to be brave means that you can move mountains. I'd say a little bit more high stakes than Legends and Lattes, but still on the cozier side. It's YA. Definitely pick this up. Last in the YA category is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. If you guys literally thought I was gonna make a fall recommendation video, or actually any recommendation video for that matter, without talking about Divine Rivals, you're crazy. Still to this day, I know I talk about this in every single video that I make, literally every single video, but this is still to this day the only tattoo from a book that I have. This follows Iris and Roman, who are rival journalists at this newspaper. I feel like I have a whole new lease on this story because I just read Wild Reverence. You get a lot more of a backstory on this story and like why gods are the way that they are, but they are involved in their world in this war between gods. Iris's brother is in the war and she has this magical typewriter that she thinks she's writing letters to him, but it turns out that she's actually writing letters to Roman, who is her rival journalist. I adore this book so much, and I think that the more of Rebecca Ross that I read, the more I have such a deep appreciation for her and her writing. Her writing style is very similar to Madeline Miller's, I think, if you guys have read any of her books. It's just very poetic. The way that she describes love is so pure and wholesome and just like beautiful. The yearning that she writes in her books is specifically the thing that makes me always recommend her books. If you guys like yearning, if you love just very beautiful writing and something that kind of feels like a historical fantasy romance, honestly. It's not a historical romance, but like it kind of feels like it is. Definitely give this a read. I absolutely love this, and I think that I'm honestly just biased and think that this could be read in any season, but I particularly love it in the fall because I read it in the fall the first time I read it. Moving on over, I have two books in the literary fiction category, and both of these are like literary fiction with magical realism elements in them. The first one is actually gonna be my next bookish tattoo. I'm really excited about it, but it is Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I think I fell in love with this book in the first like 50 pages of it, honestly. It's hard to describe this book because there's so much going on in it and there's so many different stories happening. It basically follows this college student, Zachary, as he discovers this hidden underground labyrinth of stories. And it's really hard to describe it other than that. I would say this kind of feels like an adult Alice in Wonderland that pertains to books. Basically, if you just want something that feels like honestly academic mixed with like a love of stories, fantastical, and very whimsical, I would say definitely pick this up. This is definitely not like a light read. I would say this kind of falls in the category of the attention span you have to have if you're picking up a dark academia book or a academia book in general, but I highly recommend this, and I will recommend this till the day I die. I love this book so much. Similar category, this is another one of my 6-star reads, and that is Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I don't think that this has a specific season, but I really love literary fiction, specifically like fantasy literary fiction in the fall time. If you haven't heard about Invisible Life of Addie LaRue somehow, I'm actually forcing my husband to read this right now. This follows Addie LaRue, who lives in the 1700s in France. She is about to be forced to marry this man that she doesn't want to be with, so she goes against every advice she's ever heard and prays to a god who only answers at night. He gets her out of this marriage, but he curses her with living a life where she lives forever but nobody remembers her. As soon as she walks into a room, she leaves, that person forgets about her. So she lives forever but nobody remembers her until one boy in our current time in New York City does remember her. One of my favorite books of all time. Again, V.E. Schwab is a phenomenal author. Her writing style is so unique and so beautiful. I really want to read some of her other books. They didn't make the fall TBR this year, but I think they're going to next year. I really want to read Vicious. In the contemporary romance genre, I have one singular book. Hopefully at some point I'll have another book to recommend you in this category because I'm currently writing a contemporary romance that takes place in the fall. It's a second chance romance, Childhood Friends to Lovers. I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait for you guys to read it, but that'll be on my recs someday because it is going to be in the contemporary romance category, and I don't see a ton of contemporary romances that you can recommend in the fall because most of them are summer. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I guess this is kind of like a contemporary romance fantasy, I guess. Reading it, it just reads like a romance, so I'm just gonna put it in that category. I always describe this book as a rom-com Twilight. Misery Lark is the daughter of the Vampire King, and she has to be in an arranged marriage with the alpha of the Wares. And it's an arranged marriage, it's forced proximity, it's everything we love and more, girlies. It's so good. Maybe if you're doing a lot of intense reads or a lot of heavy reads and you just want like something light and fun but still feels like fall because it's like spooky, Bride. It's definitely adult and it's very Allie Hazelwood, so if you know her vibe, you know she's very spicy, so keep that in mind whenever you're reading this. But I absolutely love this, could not recommend it more. The one thriller that I have on my list, because I'm really not a thriller girly, I would like to be, maybe next fall will be my thriller era, but it's not going to be this fall, unfortunately. I did love this one though. I've only read a couple and this is my absolute favorite, and it is The Silent Patient. You guys have probably seen this. I feel like this is a very popular book, but out of all the thrillers I've read so far, this one has just, it's captured my attention in a way that not a lot of books do. It follows a psychiatrist who is really obsessed with this woman who is at a psych ward, murdered her husband. She never confessed to murdering her husband. She just never said anything. As soon as it happened, she kind of fell into like a trauma where she couldn't talk. And so she's never confessed to killing her husband. She's never told anybody why she killed her husband. She's just at a psych ward and all these psychiatrists have come and tried to get her to talk. She just won't talk. And he's obsessed with it and he wants to go kind of figure out why she is not talking or why she killed her husband or whatever. This plot twist was insane. Knew that thrillers could have really good plot twists, but I hadn't really experienced it yet until this book. And when I tell you, my jaw was on the floor. When I tell you, and this is coming from somebody who, like, every time I'm at the movies, my husband probably gets annoyed with me because I can pretty much guess any plot. People say this is predictable. I'm like, I don't know how you could have predicted this, but I really like the psychology elements to it because part of my degree was in psychology. So whenever he was kind of going through the psychological elements of it, I was really intrigued by what he was saying. So I have two that fall in the adult fantasy category. I guess the first one is technically considered a romantasy, and I always describe it as a gothic romantasy, and that is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This was my obsession of last year. I actually have a reading vlog of me reading this, and I don't even know what I expected before reading this, but I ended the video and I was like, guys, I've never been more obsessed with a duology in my life. This first book I gave a 5 stars to, and the second book I gave a 6 star to because I liked it even more. I adore this series so much, but my only op is that I read it in March, and the whole time I was reading it I was like, I should have read this in October. This is an October book. Anybody that tells me that they want to read it, I'm like, just wait until October. And then chef's kiss, perfect. In this world, all of the magic happens through a deck of cards, and some cards are more common than others. Elspeth lives in this world. She lives with her uncle and aunt and her cousin, and whenever she's very young, she touches a nightmare card. So the whole book, she has a nightmare, an actual living being living in her head. In this world, all the people in power, they're trying to get the more rare cards. They're stealing and killing people to get those cards. It's gothic romantasy. It kind of feels like Regency a little bit. She's a part of like the elite group, so I feel like there's a lot of things going on within that. I really love the romance in this book. I love a brooding man, but one thing that I love more than a brooding man is a yearning man, and I feel like that was in the second book. So they're two different love stories, kind of. I mean, the first one's kind of still going on in the second book, but there's a new one in the second book. I absolutely love the story. If you've never read it, definitely pick it up in October. When I tell you I was shocked whenever I read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo and was obsessed with it. I don't really know what I was expecting from this book, but I had only read Six of Crows, so I didn't really know what I was getting into with Ninth House. Dark academia vibes, because it does take place at Yale. I actually probably should have put this in the dark academia section. Okay, let's start the dark academia section. This follows Alex, who can see ghosts, and so she gets recruited to this program in Yale to be a part of kind of like the society of supernatural houses, but the occult activities are kind of starting to get more and more concerning as she's seeing them happen, and she's kind of being told, oh, just forget about it, don't question it. But because of an event that happened that we're not aware of until later in the book, she feels the need to keep questioning it and questioning the people in power until she can get to the bottom of whatever's happening on campus. Love this one, love it. I finished this and I was just jaw on the floor. I also didn't even realize that this was a series, so I got to the end of it and I was like, oh my gosh, why would they end it that way? Then I found out that Hellbent is the second book, and I'm really excited to read that in the fall. Last in the dark academia category that I just came up with on the spot is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I explained this to my friends on my bookish trip, and I feel like I did a good job there. I don't think I can do a good job right now because it's very hard to explain this book. This takes place at Oxford. This follows Robin, and he is a student that was recruited, and basically as a very young child in the middle of a plague that went through Canton, which is where he's from. This mysterious man from this specific program came and basically saved him to take him over to Oxford to raise him and have him be a part of their translation institute, which is basically this magical institute that imbues magic into silver. in order to translate different works. This book tackles so many topics. Probably the biggest one is the topic of colonization, and is there ever ethical colonization? Can you ever truly be free whenever you're amongst your oppressors? And specifically for me, I feel like as a white woman reading this book, it was so eye-opening to see the perspective of a white woman who is a part of their friend group of multiple people who basically were brought over into this institute for the sole purpose of kind of being used for their languages, and just kind of like experience her mindset that honestly probably would be my mindset. Being able to see the emotions of the people who were in her friend group and why she was like so silly for her, the way that she was thinking, it really impacted me a lot. That's why I feel like it's so important to read outside of your typical genre and your comfort zone. I feel like the more I read out of my comfort zone, the more empathy I have for different things that I may not have had the same level of empathy for before. Helps me kind of see a couple things in a different light, or just like kind of like maybe a little bit of tweaked light. So I absolutely love this. It's a 5-star read for me. Definitely one of my favorite dark academias because the Oxford setting was phenomenal. I'm obsessed with Oxford. I want to go so bad. I'm actually going to London this fall and I don't get to go over there. I wish I did because I want to go so bad. These are my nostalgic reads. Not much to say about them because you guys know what they are. These are probably going to be a reread for some people because I feel like a lot of people have read these books. First up is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. This is Hoa 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 season. If you have never read Twilight, this is a wonderful time to read Twilight. The vibes are very moody. It's very somber. It's honestly just like the silliest love story. My dad would kill me for saying that because he unironically is obsessed with it, and every time we watch a movie we'll laugh about stuff and he'll be like, stop laughing, it's not funny, it's real. But Twilight is one of those books where whenever you're reading it as an adult with a fully formed brain, you're gonna be like, oh, like that's an interesting love story. It was a moment, okay? And if you've read it already, now's the time to reread. I might do a reread because, or re-listen honestly, because I love Twilight. It totally shaped me. I'll just never forget. I wasn't allowed to read it in 8th grade, but I borrowed it from the school library and like hid it in my English like desk whenever I was at school, and I would just like pull it out all the time and read it. And then I'd leave it at school because my mom would kill me if she knew that I read it at that age, because I shouldn't have read it at that age, but it shaped me, probably not in a great way, but it's okay. Second is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a cutie little copy. I don't know where I got this from, but it's so cute. I feel like there is no better time than autumn to read a book where the characters are setting off on an adventure. They have their cheese and meat and they're embarking on a journey and an adventure together. There's nothing like it in the fall time. There's nothing like it. So I love this book so much. It's so close to my heart, and I always like to do like a reread or a re-listen every autumn because it's just so nostalgic for me. I think it's just so cozy, and although there are stakes obviously, it's just very warm. Last but not least is Harry Potter. I feel like everybody saw this coming because autumn is such a Harry Potter time. It's such a Harry Potter rewatch, re-listen, reread. Harry Potter for so many of us just feels like childhood. It just feels like magic and warmth and like believing that you're gonna get a letter to go to Hogwarts someday. I will never forget just like the many nights sitting by the fire and my dad reading Harry Potter to my brother and I before we went to bed, and then watching that part of the movie. So I absolutely love rereading or rewatching. Honestly, I feel like most of the time I rewatch. I don't always do a reread, but one of these years I'm gonna have to do it again. And if you've never read Harry Potter, autumn is the perfect time to read it. I would recommend thrifting your copies though. You can definitely find Harry Potter copies very easily whenever you're thrifting. J.K. Rowling is pretty problematic, and so at this point she has so much money from so many different avenues and from this new TV show I don't plan on watching. Or if you don't want to support J.K. Rowling, books are really easy to find. You're pretty easily able to thrift them in almost any Goodwill. It's honestly kind of like a little fun adventure to go and try to thrift them instead of buying them new. And who wants to buy them new anyways? Literally they're so expensive if you buy them in the set. So I would recommend, this is my copy from forever ago. I've had these since I was like 8 years old. Okay, moving over into the TBR. I'm gonna do September 1st because obviously that's what we're currently in. I just finished Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and that was like my main hopeful for September. So I'm really happy that I finished that because that was one of my most anticipated reads of this year. I want to read Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the second book in the Legends and Lattes series. Again, so cozy, perfect for transitioning into fantasy, and I'm hoping that the second one is, even if it's like a little bit close to as good as the first one, I would I think it would be so much fun. I'm continuing the Zodiac Academy series. It is so addicting. It is so addicting, but I had to take a break from it. I do plan on reading the 7th book in the series at the end of this month because I do miss the characters and I am a bit concerned for them. I don't know where it's gonna go from here. I think the 7th book is Heartless Sky, so I plan on reading that. Those are like my final 2 that I want to read by the end of September. I actually just got my Bookshops and Bone Dust Libby holds the other day. I'm gonna do that next. Shouldn't take me too long to read that one because normally they're pretty quick, and then I'll move on to the 7th book of Zodiac Academy, and then we'll get into October. October is focusing on kind of witchy and spooky. Like I said in the beginning of this video, last October was kind of disappointing because obviously I had more things to worry about. I had a lot more on my mind. I wasn't in the emotional headspace to really dig into reading, so I'm excited for this October because I really wanted it to be very vibey and spooky. The Wicked Deep is a book that my friend recommended me last autumn, and I bought it whenever I was with her on our readathon weekend, my friend JC. 2 centuries ago, 3 sisters were sentenced to death for witchery. Stones were tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep waters surrounding the town. For a brief time each summer, the sisters returned. This is like a local small town witchy book. I don't know a ton about this book, but it's very witchy, and that's exactly what I want for October. A Discovery of Witches, another witchy book that I don't know a lot about. Oh, this is Oxford. Oh, perfect. Deep in the heart of Oxford's Bodleian Library, Diana Bishop, a young scholar and the descendant of witches, unearths an enchanted alchemical manuscript. Ooh, equal parts history, magic, romance, and suspense. I feel like I always hear people talk about this book. Obviously very witchy, perfect for October. Perfect time to read it. I'm really hoping I get to this one this autumn because I keep meaning to. Keeps being on the list. The Night Circus is another book by Erin Morgenstern. You guys know how I feel about Starless Sea. Her books are kind of weird and they're not linear, so I think this is kind of the same concept. There's probably a couple different stories. The circus arrives without warning, no announcements preceded. It's simply there when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements, and it's only open at night. Behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway, a duel between 2 young magicians who have been trained since childhood expressively for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. I love an Erin Morgenstern book. I have heard great things about this one. I actually heard a lot of people have read this one and they're kind of scared to read Starless Sea because they love this one so much, and I'm literally the opposite. Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. So excited to get to this one. If not in October, then probably November. This left off on a cliffhanger whenever I finished the first book, so I'm really excited to get this one to see where it goes. Probably getting into November, I have kind of more fantasy and dark academia. I have A Fire Endless, which is the 2nd book in Isles of Cadence series by Rebecca Ross. You guys know I love a Rebecca Ross book, and the first book, River Enchanted, was just so gorgeous. So quintessentially Rebecca Ross, and I'm excited for the 2nd one because it also left off on a cliffhanger, and this is a duology, so it's completed after this one. If We Were Villains is a dark academia that I don't know a lot about, but you guys have probably heard of this one, so let me know if it's good. I'm kind of on the fence about it. This is kind of like a possibility for me this year. I've really wanted to read this one, but I have a lot of lit fic dark academia that I want to read in like autumn and winter, so this might get pushed over into winter. I'm not sure yet. But let me know if you've read it and you really recommend it, and then I'll probably push it higher on my list if a lot of you guys think that I should. Last but not least is A Secret History by Donna Tartt. Every single year this gets put on my TBR, and every single year I push it off, but not this year. I am gonna read it this year. I plan to read this whenever I'm in London. I'm actually going to London and Paris on a work trip this year, so I'm actually gonna do a reread of Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I also want to read A Secret History while I'm there. I don't really know why. I thought about it. I thought about which of my books I wanted to read while I was in London, and this just felt like the best fit. Even though it does take place in an Ivy League in the US, it gives me London. I don't know why. I just feel like it has to be the book that I'm reading while I'm there, especially because the first day I'm there is like a full day where I'm just going to be going to museums, going to coffee shops and bookstores, and really just vibing around, going to different cafes. So I don't know, it might change, but that's just what I'm feeling right now. I hope you guys like this video. We've been yapping for a while, so I hope that you got some good recs from this. Let me know what you're reading this autumn. Let me know if you have any recommendations for me. And I hope that you're having such a wonderful start to the fall. Here in Asheville, the leaves are starting to fall. It's starting to get like a little breezy. It's still not fully chilly yet, but in the mornings and night it is. So I'm loving fall so far, and I can't wait to get more into it with you guys. So I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.